existing Gage Park tropical greenhouse capital budget, number provided, and a contribution from the Ward 3 Capital Infrastructure Reserve. And whereas the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation is a charitable organization that supports the development of public amenities within the Hamilton community and has graciously offered a $350,000 donation towards the tropical greenhouse project. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Director of Environmental Services be authorized to negotiate and execute on behalf of the city an agreement in the form satisfactory to the city solicitor with the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation for the receipt of a donation in the amount of $350,000, which shall be used to fund the Gage Park Tropical Greenhouse, and that the Mayor shall send a letter of thanks on behalf of the city to the Patrick J. McNally Charitable Foundation for its gracious donation, and that any surplus funds available upon completion of this project be returned to the Ward 3 Capital Infrastructure Reserve. Mr. Mayor, if I can now speak to this motion. As you know, I tout Gage Park as being the best urban green space in Ontario. We are so proud of the work that is happening in that space, both by the community and all the incredible stakeholders that have made it an incredible place, by the leadership of my predecessor, Mr. Bernie Morelli, and the Gage Park Master Plan, the Friends of Gage Park. I know Councillor Marula and Collins both had their hands on that project as well. Moving it along, we are certainly reaping the benefits of a renewed fountain, great lighting, and beautiful amenities in that park. It is certainly a citywide jewel. And with this incredible donation, it only speaks to the continued confidence that is growing in the community. And really, for those that when we have the opportunity to see the incredible space that is being developed there, community-facing space, I believe that this will be a regional draw for people that are interested in gardening, in gardens and plants, horticulture, botany, what have you, that when they come to see the RBG, they're going to say, gosh, we got to get another 10 minutes east and go down there to the heart of Hamilton and see the Gage Park Tropical Greenhouse. So I am so grateful to staff, I know, who have been working on this for quite some time. This is a culminating, I think, cherry on the cake, if it were, or star on the Christmas tree. And I just want to thank them for their incredible resolve in working through this, and certainly a fantastic example of what happens when we leverage the community partnerships with city funds. So I'm so proud and so grateful to the McNally Fund. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Well said. Councillor Marula.
Just quickly, I just want to, Mr. Mayor, thank Councillor Green for what I believe to be an incredible announcement today. I think it's heartwarming, actually, knowing that when Councillor Morelli was active on this file, I remember, I think all of us knew at that time it was an issue that we were trying to finance but couldn't find the money as a result of a number of challenges that we were faced with. And I think back to that era, and I think back to the time when people were working to move out of that area in the East End to find, I guess, a suburban life somewhere, which they felt is better. Now, people are working to move into the urban life, and the complete reversal of that fortune is really tied into what we have here before us today. That master plan process was an exhaustive process with a significant amount of contribution from the public and from council and others. As Councillor Green mentioned, and I'm glad he did, this is Councillor Morelli's legacy that's living on as a result of this announcement that Councillor Green is making today. And for that, I happily not only second it, but support it and applaud it, and look forward to more announcements along these lines as the Renaissance continues in East Hamilton.
Thank you. Well said as well. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just want to recognize Patrick McNally. Patrick was a wonderful gentleman. He was a resident of Flamborough for 45 years and lived to be 100 and passed away just a year and a bit ago. Patrick has, and through him, his fund has been funding just incredible projects. And you're absolutely right. The greenhouses at Gage Park, they are a jewel in our community. And but I want to recognize Patrick. He was 45 years at the Rotary Club of Waterdown, Lifetime Achievement, and is just an incredible person. And I think it's wonderful to see his legacy just continue to give. This is exactly what the man was all about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Farr.
Yeah, and I'm glad the former speakers mentioned some of the history behind this incredible gesture here tonight. And certainly, I thought, just as the previous speaker was talking, one of the first things we did together was with the Skate the Dream program, and Flamborough and downtown Hamilton working together. And certainly, it's clear that the Patrick J. McNally Foundation and the team behind it, I'm sure the board of directors, I know I've talked to Graham, the grandson, who's a very prominent, well-known, progressive architect in the area. He's made some significant investments himself and continues to, and works on some pretty great projects in our core and throughout the city. Feels the same way that clearly Patrick did. It's a community where all of us are in this together, and it's about the city as a whole. And of late, quite obviously, and specifically to honor Patrick, they've really made some noise. And I just wanted to take this opportunity tonight to thank the McNally family in honoring Patrick, because they're honoring all of us. The pop-up park in Beasley was a McNally funded. It will be a McNally funded to an extent event happening very soon, and all the staff are working quite closely with the McNally Foundation on that initiative, where we're converting about 15 or so spaces of surface parking into a pop-up park this spring, summer. Pier 8, the promenade commitment. Mr. Mayor, you were in Europe trying to, and probably quite successfully, selling the great economic development and real estate advantages Hamilton has to offer throughout the world. You were doing that in Europe. Certainly here at home, we have a McNally Foundation that saw a benefit in funding a very outside-the-box method of making the perimeter of Pier 8 an extremely important investment over many terms of council for all of us, that's really starting to see the light of day in recent months. But their commitment in making the perimeter of Pier 8 the very best it can be, with almost a contest, a worldwide contest in designing that promenade, a very important feature along the water's edge. So I think it's great. These folks are really stepping up, and they roll up their sleeves too, and that's a great piece too. So I'm happy to hear tonight that they're also taking part in Gage Park, because I think there's a lot of Hamiltonians that are going to be very, very impressed once these tropical greenhouses reach their zenith in our very important Gage Park. So thank you to the Patrick J. McNally Foundation.
Thank you. So on the motion, all in favor? Any opposed? We are unanimous. So for the record, for all that are present and all are present, say and accept. Unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Jackson, a motion regarding an amendment to the General Issues Committee report that we mentioned earlier. So it was withdrawn, moved to withdrawn, and this is the replacement. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, you are so right. I am moving this new notice of motion regarding Canada's sesquicentennial Hamilton celebration of the 150th birthday. So placing my notice of motion, and moved by myself, seconded by Ward 7 Councillor Donna Skelly, that the rules of order be waived to allow the introduction of this notice respecting an amendment to item 8 of the GIC report 16-021 regarding Hamilton celebration of the sesquicentennial.
Thank you. All in favor? Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, to conclude, moved by myself, seconded by Ward 7 Councillor Donna Skelly. Basically, as staff have told me, Mr. Mayor, everything that we did last week at GIC, the outcome is exactly the same. We're adding an additional $100,000 because of the overwhelming number of eligible applications and groups, over 100 of them that have come forward wanting to participate in some small way in celebrating Canada's 150th birthday right here in our city of Hamilton. Because we had approved this a year ago, this was to amend what we approved a year ago, so it's procedurally, but the outcome's exactly what we did unanimously last week. Seconded by Councillor Skelly.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Councillor Whitehead, your motion regarding the Escarpment Cornelius pathway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to waive the rules?
Yes, I'm looking for a motion till we can facilitate the tender process.
Okay, moved and seconded by Councillor Skelly. All in favor to waive the rules? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's before everybody, therefore be it resolved that the City Council support the contribution of a fully Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act compliant path, I think it's the first, through the urban forest in the Captain Cornelius Park, and that in 2017, $50,000 be funded from the Ward 8 area rating account to assist in the funding of the construction of the path, and C, that the 2018 $50,000 be funded from the Ward 8 area account to assist in the funding of the construction of this path.
Okay, thank you. Motion's before you. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you so much. We have items of interest. I am going to start with Councillor Ferguson and work around this one. Councillor Ferguson, you're up.
Well, that's good, because the thing I have to announce is the opening tonight of the Field Code Museum display, opening the Ark, or from the Ark, and the farmer family who donated that property are going to be with us tonight. So it starts at 7 o'clock, so it looks like I'm going to make it without having to leave early.
There you go. You're welcome.
And so that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Give them our best when you're up there. Thank you so much. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you. I wanted to just take a minute to introduce the fact that the Dundas District High School, which is at the far west end of town, now condos, was for many years, from the early 1900s, a high school and then a middle school, and for a short while, even an elementary school. But there is a Dundas District reunion booked and filling up, which will be happening June the 23rd to the 25th. And I know that's a while away, but I did want to say that tickets are still available at the in Dundas at the Keeping Room. And they are going fast, and it is a full weekend. So if anyone's interested, they can call my office if they want more information, and we'll be happy to share. I want to remind people that the Dundas Farmers Market will be back in full swing starting June the 8th, and that Busker Fest happens the first weekend in June. So just for your date book, a few dates to remember. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Saturday, we have, starting at 10 o'clock in the morning until, 10 o'clock in the morning until 4 p.m., Dante's Community Car Wash, which will be at the Waterdown Collision. And it's a wonderful community event. They get a few hundred cars going through. All the money raised goes to cystic fibrosis. And it is named Dante, who is the son, is going to be participating in it along with all his friends. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day. That same day in the evening, starting at 4:30, there is the Carlisle United Church Chicken Dinner. And we get about 500-600 people who come out to the Carlisle Arena. It's a wonderful celebration. There's a live auction, a silent auction, base painting, bands playing. It's just a fabulous community celebration. It goes from 4:30 to 7:30, and then that's it. It's over. On Sunday at Flamborough Downs, we have the Confederation Cup, which is always a very exciting day. And that's starting at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The race starts at 6, and I invite everybody to come out to Flamborough Downs and enjoy themselves. A fabulous dinner that goes with that as well. And I would just like to wish everyone a very happy Mother's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Two announcements, if I might. Talk about aging successfully in our city. As you recall, a couple of months ago, Bella Brearley celebrated her 108, and then shortly after went to be with her Lord. Well, on Saturday, May 20th, Mr. Mayor, a name you might remember and a few members of council might remember, Bernice Price is celebrating her 100th birthday at the Grace Villa on Saturday, May the 20th. From 2 to 4 p.m. Her nephew, Jack Branch, is hosting it on behalf of his aunt, Bernice Price. Mr. Mayor, if you recall, Bernice was one of the very few across the country to receive the recognition and the award from St. John's Ambulance, the Order of St. John's, and was crowned a Great Dane of St. John's Order. She has been a longtime member of our Seniors Advisory Committee over the years, a lady who fought for HSR bus fares for seniors to be affordable, accessible, and for the seniors bus pass that wasn't even around about 20 years ago, because her time on the committee predates the new City of Hamilton, goes back to the old City of Hamilton and the regional government of Hamilton-Wentworth. She was involved in maintaining recreational fees affordable always for seniors. She fought to successfully get a pedestrian priority signal installed at East 13th and Fennell Avenue, just around the corner from where she lives. A strong advocate for McCass and Wentworth Lodges, and again, a longtime member of St. John's Ambulance. Mr. Mayor, Saturday, May 20th, her 100th birthday for any that can attend the open house from 2 to 4 at Grace Villa, which is up on Upper Gage Avenue, just before the link. Please come out and attend. Congratulations and happy birthday, Bernice. Mr. Mayor, to bring my community up to speed in light of the recent closure of the Kenilworth Access upbound lanes and the closure of the exit ramp off the easterly leg of the Sherman Access connecting to Kenilworth, and as well a day or two closure of the westerly leg of the Sherman Access, Mr. Mayor. And if General Manager Dan McKinnon wants to offer and chime in at all, please, Dan, feel free to do so. But I just felt, Mr. Mayor, it was interesting hearing from several of my colleagues tonight about the success and how far we've come over the last 10 to 15 years in terms of mitigating flooding in our community, particularly in residential neighborhoods, and I applaud that. I've been supportive of all those measures, the backwater valve and other preventative programs, and all the upgrades we've done to the Woodward Avenue treatment plant, modernizing and increasing capacity, replacement of our sewer and water and storm mains as well across the city, to the accelerating those projects to the best degree that we could. However, Mr. Mayor, I truly feel and believe that more needs to be done regarding some of our escarpment passes. And as you know, particularly across mostly of the mountain, there's about 17, 18 passes across the whole city, from 50 Road, Centennial Parkway, all the way over to Clapson Corners and Highway 6. But it seems like the Beckett Drives, the James Mountain Roads, the Claremont accesses, the Jolly Cuts, the Kenilworth accesses, and the Sherman accesses, Mr. Mayor, have borne a little more brunt of the climate change that's going on across the world, and in particular in North America. And so, Mr. Mayor, I want to first of all applaud General Manager Dan McKinnon and his entire crews, both from operations and maintenance, with Director Betty Matthews-Malone and Manager Brian Hughes, and from his fabulous engineering team led by Director Gary Moore and his manager Sam Sadawi. They were really fast on the mudslide of the past 4 or 5 days, on last Thursday, May 4th, and Friday, May 5th, that closed the upbound lanes of the Kenilworth access and led to then there was a boulder that rolled onto the exit ramp of the easterly leg of the Sherman access onto the Kenilworth, that caused that closure as well. So always being in the best possible proactive and reactive way, our staff and our teams get out there as soon as possible, and and for the sake of public safety, Mr. Mayor, do what they have to do in spite of some of the inconveniences that it might cause for the motoring public at that moment in time. And so, Mr. Mayor, I'm pleased that the Kenilworth access upbound lanes were open in a matter of 2 or 3 days over the weekend past. The exit ramp from the easterly leg of the Sherman access is still closed. Maybe General Manager Dan McKinnon, if he would just might want to comment just on that, and if there's any update as to when hopefully that will be open. I believe that staff have contractors that want to be on site this Friday to maybe just do a little more rock scaling of that area along the easterly leg of the Sherman access leading to the exit ramp that goes to the upbound lanes of the Kenilworth. I understand a contractor wants to be up on site to do some more rock scaling to make it perfectly safe before reopening it to traffic. Maybe Dan can confirm that at the end of my speech and comments here, Mr. Mayor. And also the westerly leg of the Sherman access. For the motoring public from the East Central Mountain, they will have noticed that there's a controlled signalization, so it does slow traffic while the crews are assessing and reviewing and studying what needs to be done. But there's been a controlled signalization on the westerly leg of the Sherman access that will continue from the top of the cut down to Charlton Avenue for the next period of time. However, there will eventually be a full closure of the west leg of the Sherman access during the summer and the fall so that the retaining walls are properly repaired and replaced. And so, Mr. Mayor, I want to say that I have in the last 2 or 3 years, and through the advocacy work of many in my community who care very much, particularly the chairperson of my East Mountain Citizens Group, Mrs. Kate Fraser, and her very vocal group. I want to say that as we've done with preventative measures for flooding across our city and all the credits and compliments that were given earlier by several colleagues, this area of the Escarpment passes, in my opinion, I'm going to be insisting upon needs more both proactive work and possibly more dollars from a maintenance and annual operational standpoint, as well as greater capital dollars to install measures that will make it even safer and prevent mudslides, boulders, falling rock from coming across our escarpment passes. Again, I'll speak mostly from the Sherman access and Sherman cut standpoint and the Kenilworth access that are very germane to the residents and motoring public that come from the east and central mountain. And what I mean by additional, more permanent measures, Mr. Mayor, are jersey barrier walls that can be installed along the accesses where there aren't, steel meshing that can be installed as well, and some more regular engineering reviews that we've done through Gary Moore's area and through Golder and Associates that came forward with a document that has become something to move, a foundation that something is to be built on in terms of the recommendations that came out of the Golder and Associates document of the last year or so. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure all of my colleagues and the community has heard the Escarpment Rail Trail as well, for safety reasons, has recently closed in the last 24 hours from the bottom of the Wentworth Stairs right to Mohawk Road. That whole stretch has been closed by staff again from a preventative standpoint so that they can assess some cracks that have occurred along the paved pathway of the Escarpment Trail. Very well used, very popular for hundreds of families that use it for social recreational activity. So maybe if I could, in concluding, Mr. Mayor, with your permission, that Dan McKinnon could possibly comment on when the exit ramp of the easterly leg of the Sherman access to the Kenilworth will be reopened. I've been told hopefully by the end of this week. Secondly, if he could comment on the Escarpment Rail Trail, what's occurring there. And thirdly, Mr. Mayor, in terms of when he anticipates the permanent closure of the west leg of the Sherman access, I really appreciate your indulgence, Mr. Mayor, because I feel that this is an incredibly important issue that is not going away across our city. And I can't stress enough, without being an alarmist, I can't stress enough the seriousness of the matter and the more what seems to be repetitive nature of what's occurring here that's causing greater caution and concern in the community. Mr. Mayor, through you, please, to Dan.
Dan McKinnon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as it stands right now, our contractor will be moving in to do some rock scaling immediately above the area where the east leg of the Sherman Cut joins the upbound lanes of the Kenilworth access. Our hope is that by Friday night we may be in good shape to open that up, but we can't commit to that until they get up there and have an opportunity to inspect it. As far as the rail trail, we've got a consultant going to be moving in there to do some analysis to determine whether or not the location of the failure along that part of the trail is such that we can do a very quick and immediate repair. Until the consultant has an opportunity to evaluate the situation there, we don't know if the remedial action will be longer term. So unfortunately, that's going to remain a question mark as well. The west leg of the Sherman access, we intend to be closing that for several months sometime in the summer to do the remedial repairs on the retaining wall that holds that in place. We did suffer a failure along the shoulder there as a result of the heavy rains that we've had over the last number of weeks, and that's why we needed the short-term closure that happened in the past few days. I will say that certainly leveraging some of the comments from earlier, the rain events that we've experienced over the last 10 or so years typically have adversely impacted our buried infrastructure, meaning the sewer system. The situations that we're finding now is that we're seeing that a lot of adverse effects to our surface natural features and our surface infrastructure, which is a change, and I think that is an indication that the investments that we've made in the buried infrastructure over the last decade we're seeing some benefit from that. But certainly the waterfront trail, where we've got an ongoing closure, we're looking, doing some evaluation there. We're continuing to see some more damage occur there. I was made aware today that much of the beachfront along Confederation Park has suffered as a result of the extraordinary lake levels that we're observing at the moment as well. And not to kind of end this on a negative note, but we are seeing a forecast of more rain beginning tomorrow and possibly extending into Saturday. And while the rainfall amounts are not significant in my view, they're going to be accompanied by an east